Yeah, so this data started to coming. Can you do one thing? Just change to that meet setting, that screen.
Meet audio is coming on the screen. And meet audio तो आएगा. Change the bitrate setting and stuff. Maybe do it. Okay, hello everyone. Let's get started. Like ICPC Amritapuri code for ICPC Amritapuri 2023 round has started 30 minutes ago. Let's look at the current standing for now. Like looks like teams have found the easiest problem of the contest. Teams have found the easiest problem of the contest. Like Twinkle Twinkle Little Star was the easiest one, and the second easiest one was Lego blocks. And looking at the standing right now, mm, looks like around 70 teams have solved two problems, and around 175 teams are visible on the scoreboard. And among them, around 170 teams have already solved the first problem. First essay of the contest was by team Descendants of Tourists from NIT Rourkela. They submitted an AC on Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. And second distinct solve on the problem Lego blocks was by Team Malana from IIT Patna. And like they did got a WF before because of an int overflow. And like that's where we are. And yeah, like probably I will go through the problem statement once. Like a twinkle twinkle little star, the problem statement is when stargazing, here is an easy way to tell apart stars from planet. Stars twinkle, planets do not. You are given n pictures representing a linear time lapse of a night sky. Each photo is an R cross C bitmap, where dot represent that the pixel has darkness and star represent that the pixel has light, representing the crazy night. A pixel contains a planet if it has light in all the photos, and a pixel contains a star if it has light in some photo but not all of them. And can you count how many stars, planets, and stars do you see? So along with us, like we also have Vaibhav and Deepa. Like probably can you guys introduce yourself as well?
Hello, hi. I'm Vaibhav. I'll be joining Aryan as usual on the commentary. So we'll be talking about all of the different problems in the contest, and we'll also try to invite other setters from the problem set and try to share some tidbits about how they came up with the problem, what the solution roughly looks like, and all of that. So stay posted and keep adding comments in chat. Um Ask whatever questions you want to about the problem setting process, about the contest itself, and so on. And don't forget to cheer for your favorite team. So I think Kevin won't be able to join us today, by the way, Aryan. I just
Okay.
happened to chat with him, and yeah, Kevin has set a lot of problems for us this ICPC. I mean, we have had a track record with him contributing to Indian ICPC contests for several years now. So yeah, it's always great to have him on board. Um, I hope we can have him for Asia West finals though. That will be great. All right. Um, would be possible to show the top of the standings by any chance?
Like it's visible on stream, by the way, not on our UI.
Okay, okay, yeah, I can see it. Right. So I think the first couple of problems are pretty easy. So I think the third problem will probably matter in terms of time penalty now. So I think one of the challenges in this contest is figuring out in what order you want to solve problems. Uh, because after the first two, I think the next 2 to 3 problems, it really depends on your team strengths a little bit.
Uh, like probably participants were asking like where they can find problem links and all. For that, you can check our Code Forces blog that has all the links. And somehow I'm not the moderator in the chat, so it like YouTube flags whenever I post a link on the comment. So like that's where we are. So like the first problem was Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, and it was by Cisco, I believe. And the next easiest problem is Lego blocks. Like, let we can go ahead and read that problem as well. It says Dan, an enthusiastic and imaginative young boy, has a unique challenge to build the tallest and the most extraordinary Lego tower. In his world of creativity and mathematics, Dan has a vast collection of Lego blocks, each with distinct positive integer heights. The odd height blocks are his favorites, colored in vibrant shades, while the even height blocks are more subbed but equally important. One day, Dan decides to set himself a challenge with a specific tower height in mind. He wants to see if he can build a tower exactly that high, using only a certain number of odd height and even height blocks. Each height must be distinct, adding to the complexity of his challenge. Dan's goal is to determine if his desired tower height can be achieved with the blocks he chooses. You are tasked with helping Dan figure out if he can build his tower with the given constraint. Given a tower height n, you need to determine if it is possible to reach exactly this height by stacking a combination of K1 distinct odd height Lego blocks and K2 distinct even height Lego blocks. Now that there is a block, note that there is a block of each distinct height integer number. And Weber is the problem setter for this problem. And like probably Weber, can you tell us like how did you came up with this problem?
Yeah, so this is somewhat inspired by an old Code Forces problem, which is a little bit similar to this one, I think. And I had just discussed this with Aryan sometime, I think last year or so. So I thought we'll just extend it a little bit to have another easy problem in the contest. I think for the new participants in ICPC who are, let's say in the first or second year doing ICPC for the first time, it's useful to have some motivation in the contest. So I feel having such easy problems can be helpful sometimes. Uh, so yeah, and Dan is my colleague from work, and he has a surprisingly large set of Lego kits, and he likes building new stuff. So I thought I'll just dedicate the problem to him. So yeah, the character is based on my teammate. Um, yeah, that's mostly the backstory. Maybe we can discuss the solution later on after people on the live stream have seen the problem set.
Okay, and like the next one I wanted to pick up was expected diameter because someone in the code forces comment wrote like as a spectator looking forward to solve one problem for given 5 hours long boss fight. So I was like, we can give him a problem as well, which he can try for next 5 hours. So like the expected diameter one, like
Mhm.
I will go ahead and read the problem statement. If you have some experience preparing problems for a contest, you might find that the following counterintuitive fact A random tree chosen uniformly from an all unrooted label trees with n nodes have an expected diameter order of square root of n. Why is this so unintuitive? Well, because if you have already prepared a tree problem before, then you might know that one of the simplest ways to generate a random tree, not necessarily uniformly random, is the following process, where we which we call the loop side random generator. For each I from 2 to n, choose a j between 1 to I minus 1 randomly and then add an edge between I and j. Relabel relabel the nodes choosing a uniform permutation of 1 to n. Although this is not at all uniformly random choice of unrooted label trees with n nodes, recall that there are n to the power n minus 2 such trees by Cayley's formula. You might intuitively think that this is close enough to be uniformly random and should give you the correct expected diameter. And the expected diameter of a tree generated with this procedure is order log n. Well, at least I think it's so. However, this is incorrect. As it turns out, this procedure gives a highly loopside probability distribution among the n to the power n minus 2 trees, enough to change the expected diameter. Let's put this profound knowledge to test. Suppose a random weighted unrooted label tree with n node is chosen as follows. First, choose an unrooted label tree with n nodes uniformly randomly from n to the power n minus 1 such trees. Important note, the choice of unweighted unrooted label tree is uniform across the n to the power n minus 2 distinct such tree. The loop-sided random generator procedure described above will not be used. And next, for each edge, give it a weight of 1 with probability p1 and weight 2 with probability p2. Note that p1 plus p2 is 1. Given n, what is the expected diameter of a tree chosen this way? And find this number modulo our famous modulus 998244353. That is, let m equal to 998244353. It can be shown that the answer is irrational, assuming p1 and p2 are. Write the answer as u by v in the lowest term with v positive. It can be shown that under the constraints of this problem, there is a unique integer r between 0 and m minus 1, such that r into v is congruent to u modulo m. Your goal is to find this unique r. This was it.
So, Aryan, can you try to just summarize the problem in maybe short,
Yeah,
like in
in
two
short, the
sentences?
problem is statement is first you have to pick a random unrooted unlabeled tree.
Mhm.
And problem statement mentions one way to find it, but problem statement also says like this is not at all uniformly random at all.
Mhm.
And then we have one Kelly's formula and some like the correct way to find like the correct unrooted label tree is using proof first series. And that also gives a proof for Kelly's formula like for a given fixed n, there would be n to the power n minus 2 distinct unrooted unlabeled trees. So first you pick one tree from such distribution. Then for each edge with some given probability p1 and p2, you assign each edge a weight of 1 or 2. And then you find the diameter of that tree. And the
Okay.
problem statements ask you to find the expected value of that diameter. So
Mhm.
like one way can to do it probably would be to find some or all possible such trees and among with all the probabilities and then divide it by that number or so.
Got it.
So like this one was for the guys who wanted to solve one problem for 5 hours.
Do you think anyone will end up solving this problem in the contest?
Mm, I don't expect anyone to solve it with the intended solution we have, but if you look at the constraints are n is 2000 and the time limit is 20 seconds. So
Oh, I
if
see.
someone ends up with some n cube solution, unintended n cube solution, then that might get an easy.
Mhm.
So yeah, like that was for it. And like we also have a problem on Cricket World Cup. Looks like BCCI was sponsoring. Some people feel BCCI is sponsoring. So as a dedicated to them, we have created one problem on the World Cup, which is can we still qualify for semi-finals? The story is based on World Cup. Some matches have already been played, and we are asked to print yes if India can still qualify for semi-finals.
Mm. Yeah, this season I think we have at least one cricket related problem in almost every contest. So I think even this problem, I'm not sure. Maybe teams will have to be careful with the implementation a little bit. Um, Although I guess we believe it should be solved by plenty of teams, but I think it's easy to mess up if you are not accurate.
So like one good thing is like Amritapuri regional has a lot of teams, so
Mm.
I'm hopeful in this we will have some activity on the scoreboard a lot of times. So 45 minutes into the contest, looking at the scoreboard, ICPC Chalo is at first with two aces on the two easiest problem of the set from Marathwala Mitra Mandal College of Engineering. Second team is Illyrian Wizards, Indian Institute of Technology, Kharagpur. And the third team is Lightlow from BITS Birla Institute of Technology and Science, Pilani campus, BITS Pilani. Fourth team is Euroja Forever from IIT Madras, fits an AC on two problems. They were the winner of Chennai Regionals. And fifth team is TBD from International Institute of Information Technology, Hyderabad, Triple IT Hyderabad. Like Triple IT Hyderabad has long history of going into the ICPC World Finals, so we hope like they would maintain that legacy. And the next team is underdogs from IIT Indore, ETHOS from Triple IT Hyderabad again. Okay, ETHOS is from IIT Hyderabad. Leaf Papad is from IIT Bangalore. Siv is from Kesav Memorial Institute of Technology. And Krista Elmath is from IIT Jodhpur. And like Faceless Man, the winner of Kanpur Regional, is at rank 66 right now with AC on the 2GS problem, and looks like they are trying cubic characteristic construction one.
Mhm.
So like the
Have they
next
made
problem
any?
teams are trying is
Sorry, I was asking
either
whether they
E.
have submission to the cubic problem.
Okay, like so. Like, can you repeat again?
Have they made any submissions?
Yes,
Faceless
they
men.
have made a strong answer submission. Like that's how I know.
Okay.
So like it is also expected to be one of the easy problem, but a
Mhm.
slightly tricky one. So at least they have figured out like which would be the next easiest problem.
Mhm.
And like some teams are trying, can we still qualify for the semifinals? That is the like these two are the next two easiest problem of the set. So like whoever has WA, like they are absolutely trying the correct problem. Like we are not at least jumping out of the order for the
Mhm.
problems.
Yeah, makes sense. This reminds me that we should ask all our viewers to share their predictions for the contest in chat if possible. Who do you think will win today's contest, and how many problems do you think will go unsolved? I think that's the new thing we have started asking people, because this year we have had a lot of unsolved problems in our set.
Yeah,
So
like this reminds me like someone went ahead and also wrote a comment like guys should know that you are setting problems for Indian regionals, not a Universal Cup Prime contest on our own. So like I did counted the number of unsolved problems we have so far,
mm,
and the number in the last three contests is 12 problems. One in online, no, I think in online round all the problems were solved. Like three problems in the Kanpur regionals and four problems in the
mm,
Chennai regionals. And like let's keep audience waiting and guess like how many problems will go unsolved. Like where can I see the teams list? Like the teams list is also on the Code Forces blog. Like the first comment I wrote, there are a lot of teams mentioned about like what would be their preference in the problem set and everything. Like I don't think we have an explicit list listing out everyone's Code Forces handle and their team rating, etc.
Cool. Yeah, I think it would be also interesting to see how our problems fare in Universal Cup if we
Mm.
get to host a contest there.
Yeah,
I think, yeah.
like I have added a comment like for Code Forces teams list one, but I think YouTube has flagged it because it's link.
Okay.
So like I am pretty sure like if we add this problem to Universal Cup, like people from China or Russia would end up teaching us one or two more things.
Mm.
So this is it so far. Like looks like we are yet to get a third AC on the problem
Mhm.
set.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I can maybe share a little bit about Lego blocks uh, because we discussed the problem statement a little bit. So, yeah, essentially, you need to make a number n using k1 distinct odd numbers and k2 distinct even numbers. Um, so, the observation here is that, I mean, you can take the sum of the smallest k1 distinct odd numbers and same for even numbers and see if you can make the remaining using another even or odd number essentially. So yeah, and you can find that sum in big of 1 um, because both of those are arithmetic progressions. So yeah, the remaining, if you have some remaining part that needs to be filled up by another number or by extending one of the numbers that is even or odd, then you can print yes, otherwise you print no. So yeah, you can solve each test case in big of 1 essentially.
Yes,
But
like MPB is right about the solution for
mm,
the problem. Like
yeah,
the only reason teams were getting WA was like the in smallest number was up to 1E18. So like they had an interflow issue over there.
yeah. So we had that option to omit that overflow check, but I think it's important to have these simple things because the problem is kind of easy in itself. And I feel that like even on the job as I work in the industry, I feel people make these silly mistakes frequently and then you have some production outage. So it might seem like a very very simple thing in a contest, but I think um when people make mistakes like these in a contest, they take care of it in the future going forward. So yeah, it might be a very tiny thing, but I think it's good to have some of these sometimes.
Also, one more thing which I want to ask chat is like, what is their favorite team name over there? Like, I see some funny ones like Salmon by Fan Club and Anti Ad Hoc, Logic Crusher, and like Royal Challengers, and like people are way too creative these days.
I think we also have a Breaking Bad fan in the teams because the team at rank 10 is called Crystal Math. Aryan, what are your predictions for today? How many problems do you think will go solved?
Like, I think the winner will solve 8 problems, and
Mhm.
like there is a possibility like 10 distinct problems will get solved.
Mhm. By the way, it
And
looks
like
like Dr. Mifflin has solved cubic. So they are at 3 problems now.
Okay, like Dunder Dunder Muffin from IIT Kharagpur.
Yeah.
Yes, they are sold. So like they are the first team to get AC on three different platforms, and as by virtue of that, they are at the first place.
Okay, we have a couple of favorite team names in chat now. So Kishan Kumar Singh says that Epsilon Naught is their favorite team name, and Akshat Singh says it's Tier 69420. I think a lot of credit goes to Elon Musk for popularizing it. MPB says Exorcist. Nice. Yeah, people can be pretty creative. I think even as problem
Believe
setters sometimes.
Exorcist was in top five in the online
Okay.
round.
Oh, I see. I see. Nice.
If the
Yeah, I
team is
was
from IIT.
IIT BHU. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. I think today as well we might have probably 2 to 3 problems unsolved. Um,
Like two problems, I am expecting them to remain unsolved.
hmm,
And like third problem requires way more implementation. But I am assuming like with the large number of teams, at least there would be one crazy guy who will
hmm,
go and base some suffix array ideas on it.
hmm.
And like others would be easily solvable, at least for the team setup.
I think we'll come to it later, but I was also wondering if Symphony in C++ major involves a popular trick, um, because it also seemed like a problem that people may not be able to solve if they don't know the idea. I'm not sure.
Like Symphony on C++, at least the idea is matrix one. Like people should be able to do
Okay.
that.
Do you know if the scoreboard is accessible to the public or not?
Scoreboard is accessible to the public. It's on domain icpc.codedrills.io.
Okay. Yeah, someone in chat asked um, whether they need special access. How many teams do we have on site today? Do you know about it, Aryan?
Unfortunately, I do not know the count. Okay, I'm looking for the charger.
Okay. Looks like Triple IT, Hyderabad, Lazy 3 have also solved their third problem, which is again cubic. So we have two solves. I think that will hopefully drive a lot of teams to start looking at this problem. Um, I don't think
Okay,
we
which
have a lot
one?
of.
Lazy 3, like you were talking about that cubic construction on it.
Yeah.
Okay. And like the funny thing in this contest is like three of the problems have construction in the name.
Yeah. I was very surprised to see that as well because I think uh, initially I hadn't seen the full set, but usually we try to keep very diverse problem statement titles.
Yeah, like the problems are not constructive, but the name has a construction in it.
I
Okay,
think
there are 22 on-site teams.
242. Okay.
Okay, one second. Okay, 1 hour is already over, and by this time, like we have only two teams with three problems, and most of the teams have a lot of teams have solved two problems. And like around 160 teams have solved two problems, and 207 teams have got at least one easy. So five, and around 35 teams are yet to get an AC on us, at least one problem.
Yeah, I think um, it might be a slow start, but I think people will pick up in the second hour a little more as the top teams discover some of the easier problems in the set. I think that should
Okay,
hopefully drive teams to look at other
like
problems.
what my prediction is, like we will like top teams will solve 5 to 6 common problems, and then everyone will find something based on the topic of their liking. and they may move to that problem. And like that's how we may end up with create user request when you are using it.
Nice. Yeah, that's a nice observation. I think MPB is discussing the solution to can we win the semi-final. I think that's the name of the problem.
Okay, let me
Can we still
just
qualify for
type on
semi-final?
YouTube once.
Okay. Yeah, in case you want to discuss the solution idea.
Like we will have to first discuss the problem statement first.
Yeah, let's give it some time then. I think we have already discussed a couple.
Okay, Mukesh is saying his son is also participating. Like, hey Mukesh, can you share like the team name? Okay, like MPP's idea is on the lines,
Hmm.
but the problem is what if there are around like only 5 matches played so far and 45 matches have been remaining.
Okay. 5 teams on 3 problems now. Um, can't try hard from Bits Pilani, Hyderabad, and Chennai Sharks from Shivnadar University.
Mm,
I see that some teams are also trying, can we still qualify? So, yeah, hopefully someone solves it soon. Um, I think a lot of teams have WA now. Same for cheap construction. I think some teams are also trying it out, but I don't know if that's easy enough. Maybe there are easier problems. Okay, someone has finally solved. Can we still qualify for semi-finals? Flashpoint from IIT Kharagpur. They are at rank 5 now.
The question is like the answer should always be one. If you look at the last 3 World Cups, India always qualified for the semi-final. Like that was a different team, but shout out to Flashpoint team from IIT Kharagpur for the first team to solve. Can you still qualify for the semi-finals? Like so probably at least I think we can discuss the solution idea for Twinkle Twinkle Little Star to begin with. Like we have already discussed the problem statement first. Like for the Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, what we are given is like we are given n t n cross m grids, and like we have to count the number of nodes where every node is a star, and we have to also count the number of points where at least one node is a star but not all of them are a star. So the a way to go about this would be like we take all of them as input and we just iterate some plus plus, like we maintain a counter like how many times a particular node was marked as a star, and at last we count like how many of them were n but and how many of them were greater than 0 and less than n for the Twinkle Twinkle Little Star one.
Cool. Yeah, I hope all teams are able to solve this, given that they have qualified for the regional. I think we have roughly 33 teams still remaining to solve this problem. I hope they're not stuck on solving other problems. So,
Okay, and I think at least we can discuss can we still qualify for the semifinals problem.
sure.
So like can we qualify for the semifinal? The problem statement goes like this. The Cricket World Cup is an highly anticipated event captivating fans worldwide. During the tournament, a common curiosity arises. Can a specific team still qualify for the semifinals? That is top four. This problem aims to address such queries. A total of 10 teams are participating in Cricket World Cup: India, Australia, England, New Zealand, Pakistan, South Africa, Sri Lanka, Afghanistan, Bangladesh, and Netherlands. The teams are numbered 1 to 10, with India being the number 1. The tournament follows a round robin format where each team plays against each other exactly once, spread across a series of phases and rounds. In each round, every team participates in one game. The match selection procedure ensures that every team faces every other team exactly once, resulting in a total of 45 games. The rounds of tournament can be systematically structured using a mathematical approach described below. The method of generating the fixtures would be round robin method in phase one. Like there is some arrangement of given like how matches are played, and it's also reflected in the problem statement. In the phase one, teams are initially arranged in ascending order 1 to 10, and matches are then found by pairing first and the last team, the second and the second last team, and so on until the middle teams meet. In other words, in the phase match, the matches would be between team 1 and 10, 2 and 9, 3 and 8, 4 and 7, 5 and 6. The subsequent phases involves a circular rotation of teams list, keeping the position of the first team fixed at the start. In each phase, the teams are matched with their counterpart in the mirrored fashion. For example, in the second phase, the teams are arranged as 1, 10, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, where the first team faces second to last team and second team faces second to second last team and so forth. In the third phases, the arrangement becomes 1, 9, 8, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The exact details of in various matches can be read from the table below. Like the table shows all the matches. The above matches are supposed to happen in the given order. Given the result of first K matches, your task is to determine whether the team India still has a chance to qualify for semifinals. A team can qualify to semifinals if and only if the number of wins is greater than equal to the fourth highest number of wins among the teams. The fourth highest number of wins is obtained by sorting the list of 10 number of wins, and then taking fourth one starting from the back. The result of first k matches would be given you in a binary string k. The ith match would be between team X versus Y. Then, if the ith one base indexing character of the string is 1, then the team X win, otherwise the team Y wins. And now in the constraints of the problem, there are 10 test cases and 45 matches.
And the constraint on K is 45, right?
Yeah, because there are 10 teams, so 9, 10 C2 is 45 matches.
Hmm.
And I would be back in a minute or two. Like I will take some.
So Dunder Mifflin from IIT Kharagpur has solved 4 problems. They just solved can we still qualify for semifinals. They are at the top of the leaderboard now. Um, and they don't have any wrong answers yet, so no time penalty. That's actually true for the first 6 teams. So no one has a time penalty yet. Um, yeah. Apart from the top 12 teams, everyone else still has only 2 problems solved. Um, we also have another new problem solved now. So cheap construction has been solved by Fight from Triple IT Hyderabad. Um, so that's pretty cool. I think we are starting to see teams pick up uh, some other problems now. So we have 5 distinct solved problems in the contest. Um, yeah, I think that also gives some hint to Dunder Mifflin as to what next problem they can try out if it's not obvious to them yet. Um, okay, we also have Super Fario solved in the contest. So now we have 6 problems. That was unexpected. I mean, we quickly got a lot of problems solved, I think, in the last 15-20 minutes. So that's pretty cool. I think now at least it would be pretty interesting to see ranks uh, 1 to 10, 1 to 15 sort of battle it out for the top few positions. Um,
Looks like some more distinct problems have been solved.
yeah, I was just telling the audience that we have 6 solved now. Super Faria is also solved apart from cheap construction.
Okay, so can we still qualify has got 4 aces. Cheap construction has got 1 AC. And Super Fario has also got 1 AC. And that cubic construction one has 9 aces now. Like shout out to Team Fight from Triple IT Hyderabad for getting the first AC on cheap construction. And Super Fario.
It's Malana team from IIT Patna.
Oh, nice one. So like this is their second first solve. Like they were also the first team to solve that Lego blocks one.
Mhm. I see.
Nice.
Yeah, I think next hour or so, most teams will probably try to solve can we qualify and
Right.
maybe cubic construction.
Yeah, at least the problems are not out of order.
Mhm. Yeah, I think uh, the stream for contests like these can be a little sparse. So I highly encourage people to go look at the problems, try them on your own. We'll also be releasing editorials eventually for the problems that people want to learn more about. So yeah, if you want to learn more about any of the previous problems from other regionals, do comment about them, so that we can sort of try to prioritize some problems before others and so on. All right, so leaf paper close up in second now. Um, they're only 20 minutes away in terms of time penalty. So I think it will be pretty interesting to see which of the two teams solves the next problem first. Um, I believe it will be cheap construction.
हेलो हेलो हाँ बताओ
Hi, Aryan. All right. Um, I think we're gonna take a break for like 5 minutes, and we'll be back. Um, Please continue to post your predictions in chat. Um, what team do you think will win today? What team are you supporting? Anything of that sort. And also, how many problems you think will go unsolved? I think three problems will go unsolved today, potentially. Let's see.
Hello, I think I am audible now. Can anyone in the chat confirm once? Oh, sorry, I just went ahead. Am I audible now? And looking at the scoreboard, it looks like Dumbar Muffin from IIT Kharagpur has solved 5 problems. The recent problem they have solved is cheap construction. Along with Leaf, Papad has solved 4 problems so far. Flashpoint, again from IIT Kharagpur, has solved 4 problems. Skill Issue from IIT Delhi has solved 4 problems, and Malana team from IIT Patna has solved 4 problems. And looking at the comments over here, okay, and looking at the distinct problems in the contest so far, like can we still qualify for semifinals as 8 ACs now? Cheap construction has 2 ACs, cubic construction has 31 ACs, and super ferry has 1 ACs, and twinkle twinkle little star and Lego blocks have more than 180 ACs so far. And probably jumping on to the solution, like I think we have discussed twinkle twinkle little star, and we have also discussed the Lego blocks one. So like the next easiest problem is cubic construction. So like what I remember, the idea over here was to greedily fill the problem from the first cell. Like let's first read the cubic construction one before we jump onto the solution. The video game series Big Brain Academy is interested in creating a few nerdy mini games for their latest entry. A staple of IQ test is to be presented with a configuration of cubes and then be asked questions like what is the shadow cast by these blocks when the light hits it in the certain direction. This time they decide to flip the script. They will provide the shadows and you will provide the blocks. The game takes place on a grid of R into C columns. You are given K cubes and all of them must be placed in various cells. Each cell can contain at most one cube and you must place all the cubes given to you. The game presents you with two shadows of length R and another shadows of length C. The shadow of length R encodes information light or the shadow at each position from if it's a horizontal beam of light parallel to rows is shown on the grid. Similarly, the shadow of length C encodes the information from the vertical beam of light parallel to ground. Parallel to columns is shown on the grid. Your task is to place the K cubes on the grid such that your resulting figure produces these K shadows. To illustrate how shadows work, consider the following 8 cross 14 bricks with 10 cubes. And then there is one sample explanation is given to you. Given R, C, and K, determine whether or not the task is possible. If it is possible, we will ask you to provide the solution. Now, Big Brain Academy thinks that a custom checker would be far too complicated for their game. So, to force the answer to be unique, they ask you for lexicographically largest grid among all the solutions if one exists. Most precisely, the expected output for this problem consists of R lines, each containing a stream of length C representing the rows of the grid from top to bottom. To compare two grids, treat each grid as a list of R strings. Even more precisely, for two unequal grids, the first row from the top where the two grids differ, and the lexicographically largest grid is the one whose row is represented by a lexicographically larger string. And like then there is a sample, like you can read it out. You can read the problem statement on icpc.codedrills.io. The problem set is on icpc.codedrills.io, and you can find the exact link on our code forces blog. And soon we will have Balaji Ganpati X as who would be joining us on the stream. He is the co-founder of CodeDrills and also an ICPC World finalist. Like he have been to ICPC World Finals in 2014 from IIT Bombay. And along with that, he was Coach's neck down finalist 3 times. Along with his team was him and his wife. So, like, if anyone has any questions in the chat, like, I can try to answer them. Or if someone is trying some problem, then I can check whether their reasoning is correct or not. And apart from that, I will go and look at the submissions of like WA submissions of the teams at top to see like what they are trying and where they are failing. Okay, looks like Dumber Muffin is trying expected diameter. Okay, looks like Dumber Muffin has incorrectly submitted on the expected diameter one. The code they have written is of a different problem. Hey, hello, hello Balaji. Hi,
Okay.
Balaji. So we also have Balaji Ganpati S with us. Like he is CodeDrills founder and a veteran in competitive programming community. He had been to ICPC World Finals in 2014, where he represented IIT Bombay. And he and his wife Deepa also formed a team and were finalists of Coursera's Snackdown in 2015, 16, and 17. And if I remember correctly, they were highest ranked team in one of the Coursera Snackdown finals. Like I remember reading their interview on a Coursera discuss forum or some a blog over there. Hello Balaji, welcome to the stream.
Hello, thanks for the introduction. Sounds, yeah, sounds good. Good to be here and mostly on site on uh, Amritapuri. So good to see Aryan there. Hope you are enjoying there. I always like the time on site during the contest.
Um, yeah, like it's fun meeting everyone else over here. So like Balaji, have you read the problem set over here, or like
No, not yet. I I mostly was monitoring the platform and stuff. I do. This time it does seem like I think something that we were discussing internally is about the gradient of difficulty, right?
right?
How in the other regionals sometimes a lot of problems go unsolved, and how we wanted to avoid that if possible. It does seem like this time it 3 hours remaining, and we have 6 problems solved. So yeah, it hopefully is not an issue this time.
Like I'm like unsolved problem is fine as long as we release a tutorial for them because that gives the team to learn something about them,
Yeah,
and that's one way. And like and I so sometimes feels like it's a bit sad if like a team solves all of the problems and they have nothing else to do for the remaining time. So
yeah. I think that's the only issue. It's not
mm,
that big a deal unsolved problems.
yeah,
It's just good to
and like
see kind of thing rather than must have.
yeah, and like the problem is explicit when let's say like we have two different teams who have solved all the problems, and like one of team has solved all of them first, but they are worse in the time penalty. So like that's why like the ICPC's philosophy is more like everyone solves at least one problem, but no one solves all of them. So
Yeah,
I think that's fine.
that also makes it memorable when some team does manage to solve everything.
Right. And I remember in ICPC World Finals, only tourist team managed to solve all the problems in one of the World Finals,
Yeah,
and no one else has solved all the problems over there. And like Balaji, can you share your experience of participating in ICPC regionals back 10 years ago? And like
yeah,
where all
sure.
you participated and like how was your experience?
Yeah. Let me see. I started in competitive programming around I think 2009. I think I participated in one of the thing called Google Code Jam, which I don't think is there anymore, unfortunately. Uh, and yeah, it was really fun. And I then turned over ICPC. I did the things that I guess current participants would relate. I tried to figure out how to register, how to do all the team things because I didn't have a team from my college. So I was trying to register as Mumbai University and get two people from other college because nobody from my college was into it. Uh, and I think the first time was 2010 at Amritapuri. And I came something like uh, I should remember the ranks. I think I believe it was 11th. Yeah, I remember like missing the top 10 on some number theory problem, and I yeah, and then I think more than the regionals, I always liked Amritapuri used to have these camps, which is where I learned like all the past world finalists and everybody would come there and teach all the things. Yeah, this,
Okay, so like Amritapuri regional used to have some programming teaching camp back then before regionals.
Yeah, I think from what I remember, there used to be a
sorry,
voltage
I
as
got this. Yeah, yeah. Sorry, I was saying that there used to be a teaching camp, and that's where like I learned actually doing stuff. I got seriously into competitive coding, and then I think it took me 2, 3 more attempts to get into the world finals. Like, each time I kept improving the ranks, but yeah, it was always a close miss. I think in
Okay.
2014, sorry, 2013, I came second in Amritapuri and managed to qualify for the world finals. So yeah, it's always been a fun experience.
Okay, so if I remember correctly, you mentioned like first time you tried to register as Mumbai University because no one else in your college was doing competitive programming. And like when I am looking at ICPC World Finals teams of 2014, I see like you are representing IIT Bombay there. So like was it the case like you did BTech from some other college and MTech from IIT Bombay?
Yeah, yeah. I did BTech from Previous Institute of Technology at Panvel, and uh, yeah, it was in electronics too, and yeah, so they weren't really my place. I think the next second year I participated, I just ended up taking two of my friends to tag along, and that turned out good enough. Like I just asked them to type the templates and stuff, and then yeah, and then I just solved it.
Yeah, like
But
I know
in IT
few.
Bombay, yeah, I was able to put together like a good team, and then yeah, because ICPC at the end is like still a team contest. It's really difficult to participate like as a single member or something. And yeah, so with the help of the team, I managed to qualify for that.
That's my experience too. Like what I realized, like a strong team is a team where teammates complement each other's skill rather than the
Yeah,
ones where three of them are individually really good. So that's the case, and like I know few more people like who had similar case as you. Like they were really good at competitive programming, but no one else in their college knew what competitive programming is. Like two examples comes to my mind is one is Taran 1407. Like one of the regionals one time he could not simply participate because like he was the only one from his college who had account on code 7 code forces and no one else was willing to come to on site with him. And like other example was of Nisang, like one of the problem setter we have. Like in his BTech college, like no one else knows competitive programming and no one is doing that. So yeah.
yeah. Like one of the aims of ICPC is to spread this, like have as many colleges as possible,
Mhm.
and that's why like, even though it's not popular, like we still have tried to select as many colleges as possible for the on-site
Mhm.
when we do the selection criteria uh, from the prelims.
Right. And like how were the problems back then in your time? Were they more implementation heavy? Like these days people old veterans compare that the problems are more observation based. But while the new generation looks like they really like the problem which only requires observation rather than some fancy data structures where they claim that it's just copy pastable and these days chat GPT might also solve problems.
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. So from back then, there used to be a mix of observation and implementation, but there used to be, I think, in the first half of the problem, there used to be at least two or something of implementation and at least one of the harder ones also used to be like implementation based, and it's important to have implementation based, I think, in ICPC type because world finals have it. So I always used to push when I become a setter. I always used to push for having as similar topics and difficulties maybe not difficulty, like maybe it's easier, but still the same variety of topics in Indian regionals as we have in the world finals. So yeah, implementation problems are always part of it because you have to be very thorough in that since it's a team contest, but there is only one computer. So you have to be really an expert in that and try to uh, use it optimally. It's especially fun if you have a long implementation and it doesn't work. Now, how you deal with it is very important. You should have some strategies beforehand. Like you take printouts, you take debug outputs, and get away from the computer and ask someone else to do it. And that's very important. And that's part of the strategy of CPC.
Yeah, I remember like it's really important. Like one of the time where we choked in a regional was we wrote the implementation of suffix kmp suffix array on our computer and it was throwing runtime errors and we were scratching heads like why it's throwing runtime errors. So like it's really important like you write over there and you try to debug it on paper instead of trying to debug it on the computer. And like
Yeah,
since there
definitely.
are three teammates, like a general strategy is like you only involve two members in solving a particular problem. And like if you think you are really close but you are missing out on something, you can give it to the third teammate to look at it from a fresh point of view. So
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
Balaji,
definitely. And I think one thing to practice it is like if you have like on some of these platforms you have hacks or challenges, and that really helps in these things. Like if you learn to do in the other codes, look at other codes and try to deduce what could go wrong, etc. Uh, then it helps. Like that's one thing to practice. Sorry, someone was saying something and I missed it.
no, like I was asking the next question I had was like tell us your experience about starting code drills, like how did you started and like how did the development went on to create a judge, which like
Yeah.
um, and what
So
challenges did you face?
I think the missing part in between is that from when once I participated in everything, I then started setting problems regularly, and I was usually part of the Indian regionals setting team. And for few years, I was chief judge at Amritapuri, and during this time, I got to know. So, especially Amritapuri experiments a lot with online judges. Like they used to have a lot of different judges and trying to make sure that everything like scales properly and works in the scale. So that's how it started. I think I was always familiar with all the judges, what are the pros and cons, what could be improved, and everything. So I think there is some noise somewhere.
Yeah, I'm checking.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, that was it. Yeah. So as I was saying, and then like I think Maheshwara sir, the RCD of Amritapuri, he reached out to us around the time of I think 2020, around the pandemic or something around that, to host it on CodeDrills. At that time, we had CodeDrills as a judge. We were focused on interview type problems. So CodeDrills itself started a bit before that. I had this thing called CodeDrills Recommender, which looks at initially it used to look at all your code forces, solve problems, and recommend you some problems around your difficulty. At that time, there was no problem rating on code forces that we have now. So it was a bit difficult to get problems that were around your level. You had to guess based on number of solved and everything. And so it wasn't always easy. So uh, I built like a recommender which recommends all these topics. And after that, yeah, it kind of became viral. I think I shared it on Code Forces and stuff. It became viral. It crashed on the first day and everything. And yeah, so after, that's how like the name CodeDrills was born. And after that, Maheshwara sir from Amritapuri reached out to us and asked if we could host the Amritapuri regionals on there. And it was like we were a bit hesitant at that time because this was around the time when ICPC was being postponed, and so there were 2 years of college students and everyone who will participate at once. So it was expected to be a very huge load, and everything was going to be online around the pandemic time. So we had to like and we had I think 2 or 3 months to build all this. So yeah, I think then I remember like discussing with Deepa like if this is possible, how we would do that and everything. So that's how we decided to go. Like we decided to go for it. Maishara sir is always supportive, and like so we felt comfortable going for it. And Deepa built out most of the like the features. The judge was already there, but we had to close a lot of I believe like loopholes and stuff. I think all of you might have reported some, especially Ashwin, Kevin, Vaibhav, all of them have reported some problems or the other, like when we all like closed all the loopholes and among them. And so like to make everything judge itself properly. And even after that, I think we were still worried because it was going to be, as far as like first events go, usually in other sites you would have something like 1,000, 2,000 contestants for a big event around that time. And if it was a really big event, you would have something like 8,000 around, where was the higher end of the average. But ICPC Amritapuri was going to have 17,000 to 20,000 people at the same time. So we had to make really sure that everything was working. Uh, I remember like building a lot of load tests and everything. And we used to bombard the server with all these requests and try to break it and see where the bottleneck was. It was a lot of fun, but I probably wouldn't be doing it again. It was like we had to make sure, and surprisingly, the first time, not surprisingly because we had the load test, but the first time itself it worked. It had the highest participation in any ICPC regionals in history. I think it's still not broken now. Like even later we have less because at that time it was 2 years of eligibility. So yeah, and it went really smoothly. Like there was no issue during the prelims or anything. So yeah, that's how it started.
Like that was my last ICPC regional, and I remember like the queue was really smooth compared to my experience in the other regionals online round, where like sometimes there used to be hiccups and like an extension in the contest time or something like that. So
Yeah,
and like some people in the chat do ask like, what advice would you give if someone is starting a competitive programming these days?
that's a good question. I would say like as far as competitive coding itself goes, to get better at it, all it takes is a lot of practice, but not just blind practice. That usually doesn't work. Like it doesn't matter if you solve 500 easy problems. No, what you have to figure out is where your boundary is at. So take there are say 30, 40 areas in solution like DP, graph, in graph there might be DFS, shortest path, and so on. So take all these areas and in each of them learn the algorithms there and then try to figure out where your boundary is at, like which difficulty you are able to solve till then. Now, if you solve any easier difficulty problem, it won't really help you in practice. Of course, in contest, you still have to solve it. But so it always helps to solve just at the right amount of difficulty above your boundary in that area. So if you are able to solve, say, 1500 rated problems in that, then only practice 1650 or 1700 type problems when you are practicing. So try to keep pushing those boundaries. And so that just means that you're spending your time practicing very accurately and making sure that you are using it optimally to expand what types of difficulties and what areas you can solve. So that type of targeted practice is very important. And the second advice is get into it if you find it fun. Like I know it's used in interviews and stuff, so a lot of people get into it for because of it. That's fine too. In that case, you can probably focus on interview style problems. But if you want to do this, make sure it is fun for you, and then it doesn't seem like work. Like it's just fun. You'll probably read a problem and then go about your classes and zone out during the classes and think about the problem and solve it by the time you get back from classes, which is what I do. And I see Aryan smiling, so I know he also does that. Yeah, so
I like one more question which a lot of beginners these days ask is development or competitive programming. So like what are your comments on this one?
uh,
For the
yeah,
college
so
students.
one practical thing is you still need to clear interviews. So yes, they still say you need to practice enough to have the algorithm interviews down. So having said that, after that, like above the level required to clear interviews, it's up to you. Whatever you find it fun, you should be doing it. If you find competitive coding fun, if you find thinking about the algorithms and trying to solve it, like coming up with an observation, if that's your thing, then do it. If you like to build things, want to experiment around, hack around, then do that. So, and of course, like at the basic level, you should still be knowing both. So try both for sure. If you're a college student, if you're just starting out, then it helps to try out both for some amount of time to see which you like and what things you like in that, and then you can just focus on those. So yeah, to answer it, it depends on you. Whatever you find interesting, that's what you should be doing.
Yeah, like when people ask me, I just say like why there is a or in between. Why can't you do both of them?
Yeah,
So
I do think like everyone in software development should know a bit of both. Like have a minimum level in both, but beyond that, you can just do whatever you're interested in. Because I do recognize that at beyond some point, competitive coding is a bit of a grind. You have to make sure like you keep solving harder and harder problems, and if it isn't fun to you, then it would become hard to focus, like hard to be motivated to do that. So yeah, beyond that point, it's fine to. If you don't find it fine, then it's fine to not do it. It's not a required thing.
yeah, and like these days you are in UK, right? So like how is your experience in UK compared to your experience in life in India?
Okay. So well, I like it. Yeah, I like it here. I liked it in India too. Like there, as everything, there are pros and cons, and it's a good experience. Like even if to experience it, can like come outside, like work somewhere and try it, and then decide like which one you like. Uh, like I guess like this is already a known topic. Like what's are the pros and cons of working here, like outside of India versus in India. I think Vaibhav is also in the meet. He is also outside of India.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
and I think Aryan is in India. Yeah,
Yeah, I
it's like yeah, we have all countries represented here.
yeah, and some updates on the scoreboard. Like we are just half past the contest time. Dunder Muffin from IIT Kharagpur has solved 5 problems so far, and Leaf Papad from IIT Bombay has also solved 5 problems. And like there are around 12 teams that have solved 4 problems so far, and like a lot of team with 3 and 2 problems. So like that's the update on the scoreboard. And like
It's interesting that I think the first two have solved C as the fifth problem, while J has been solved. Nobody from the first four has seemed to like nobody other than one team has even tried it. But that one team has solved it. So I think like the first few teams are probably working on J, except for Dundon Mifflin, which seems to be working on G.
as has been the tradition on the stream, like whoever joins has to subject himself to solving one of the problems. So like would you like to choose an cakewalk problem or an easy problem or a medium or hard problem?
Can't I choose the Tala for a reason from the mock contest?
No, no, you can't choose that. Like, or you can choose that, but because the counting starts from zero, so like Thala for a reason is the zeroth problem, and now you need a first problem.
Wait, let me see. I can try Lego blocks,
Okay.
or like, is it for a non-contest problem? What do you mean?
Like, can you repeat it?
Yeah, I was asking, is it for a contest problem or a non-contest problem?
No, it's a contest problem which is happening right now.
Okay. Okay.
So
Uh,
so you would like to
you
go with Lego blocks? Lock क्या जाए?
you can assign like I can try something. I don't think I will be able to solve any problem anyway. Like so in competitive coding, it's like very important to stay in practice, and I haven't really participated in contests for a long time. So yeah, it
Okay.
actually it would probably won't matter which problem I try.
So like if I have to choose one, I will like to ask cubic construction one. Like 50 teams have
Cubic
solved it so
construction.
far. Yeah.
Okay.
And I think I have already read the problem statement on the stream, so like I will avoid reading it, but I can send you the link if you want.
Yeah, I have the link. Cubic chiaroscuro construction, right?
Yes, that one. Like my
Okay,
pronunciation is not that good, so I am just skipping the name in the middle.
got it. I will read the statement and come back. We can probably discuss stuff meanwhile.
Right.
All right. I read this statement, and since I didn't say it has already been read, I won't repeat it. And I just read it, so I will just go through my thoughts rather than solving it and then saying. Just wanted to do that. So we have the R shadows of the row-wise shadows and the column-wise shadows. So in an R into C grid, think of these like a bit of constraints. If so, I know that uh, certain rows must have at least one blocks, and certain rows must have no blocks. So we have for each square of the R into C square, I can decide one of the three things. Whether there must be a, I would want to decide three things actually. Whether there must be a block there, whether there must not be a block there, and whether there may or may not be a block there. So if I can get for each of the cells one of these three conditions, then I should be able to answer the question. Because if the sum of must have is and I think must have has to be less than equals to k, the total number of cubes, and must have plus uh, can have should be greater than or equals to k. So that's the constraint. And so let's see. Think so far so good. But how to figure out if it has must have, must not have, or can have? Must not have is the easy one.
Must not have is easy, like if that column or row does not contains a shadow. So now we
Yeah,
are left with some candidates a set. From that we have to select k cells where we must place it.
yeah,
So like it
yeah,
had like the problem statement also has a condition that we have to print the lexicographically smallest one. Had there not been
yeah.
a such condition, what we could have done is we could have looked at the number of rows and columns and 1 1 2 2 3 3 type of pattern and then fill whatever we want. But now because we need lexicographically smallest, so like any ideas on like how do we find the lexicographically smallest one?
I think it's lexicographically largest. So what I would do is, let's see, we want to prioritize. So we can go in row major order, uh, like we go from top to bottom and left to right, and wherever possible, we need to place it. But at the same time, we need to make sure that with the remaining blocks, it's still possible to fill out the rest of the grid. So if we can somehow determine like at each point with the remaining blocks, it's still possible and we can place it here, then we should place it. Otherwise, we won't. I think that should be just simple counting. We can keep a count of which rows and which columns have already been satisfied. Like if we have already placed something on that row or in that column, then we know that it's not required to fulfill those later. So I think we can then use the same condition at this start. If it's now we just consider the subset of rows and columns that we are not yet filled and check again if the sum of those uh, yeah, but let's see what the sum of those are. If there are,
Yeah, to summarize your approach so far to the audience, what Balaji is suggesting is we should iterate in the row order, like the one cell which is lexicographically first we should iterate it and try to fill it there, and then we check like if it's possible to fill the remaining area with the rows and columns where we are yet to place with the remaining number of blocks we have. And now what he is looking for is like how do he determine the condition that he can fill the remaining area. And to answer it out so far, like the approach so far is along the lines of the intended solution we had. And like once you put in the critical piece of like how do we check like the remaining rows and columns can be filled, then that should be enough to get an AC on this problem. And for that, you have also
yeah,
mentioned that we have to keep account of how many rows are yet to be filled and how many columns are yet to be filled. Yeah, so that's the pretty much the idea. And like for that, what we can essentially do is we can look at like the count of unfilled rows columns and take the max of both of them. Like we need at least those many Lego blocks more, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, we just need like it should be a simple count kind of check.
Yeah, and like the only corner case can be where we don't fill all the rows in the first row. In that case, we might have to look at like how do we figure out what. Essentially, if we are able to write that function pixel perfect, then everything else falls in place.
Yeah, pixel perfect is active. If you think of the blocks as pixel. I think you're muted. You're talking, but you're muted.
Yeah, okay. And looks like the scoreboard is still following everyone, like the teams at the top. So like mm, we have around 2 and 18 minutes left, and still only two teams with the five problems. While I believe like there are simpler problems, but like teams are just trying to mimic what the team at the top have done so far because of probably their
Yeah,
experience with the other regions. In this problem, like what we have tried to do is like we have diversified the topics because we have 12 problems and a lot of problems are there on the same difficulty level. So if the best strategy for the team is to go for problems where which has they have a strong hold on those topics rather than just trying to copy the team at the top.
yeah. That reminds me like how we used to decide which problems to solve. Like because we wanted to be in top five or something. So we could not just wait for other teams to follow. So we always had this thing like strategy going in where after we solve the first, there was a different strategy to figure out what's the easiest one and solve the first two, three. And after that, what we used to do is we used to bit independently go through the problems and try to see, like estimate the difficulty or uh, topics of the problems, and then try to, if like two people agreed on like yeah this should be the next problem and these are the topics we are comfortable with, then we just proceed with that. Uh, and like for us, like it was important to have two people because we when we practiced we realized that if we had someone who was familiar with the problem and could quickly help in debugging or figuring out some test cases and stuff, it was really fast, much faster than independently assigning people to solve each problem. So I think this is a good test of team strategy. This problem set, they have to trust the top five, top 10 team especially has to trust their instincts and go for problems that they are familiar with rather than trying to follow the leaders. So it would be interesting to see if they can do that, especially given what happened in the other two regionals where following would have been the optimal strategy. What do you think, Aryan? Vaibhav?
Like what I have seen is like in the my last regionals, like a lot of team followed like the one and two team at the top, and they ended up solving a problem which was expected to be the hard problem, and that gave us a blind spot, and we did not even look at the easier problems. And like
Yeah,
if I have to recall the stories, I know a lot of stories like where the teams have done stuff like that. Like I remember like the Faceless Man 2.0 from the IIT Kanpur once solved one problem which required flow and some observation with some unintended solution from the settles in the first 30 minutes. And like that was the only submission on that problem. So like some and like looking at the scoreboard, it looks like Dumber Muffin has made one submission on expected diameter. I don't know whether they have done it by mistake or like they intentionally made a submission on that problem because their code looks more like the code of some other problem they have written.
Oh,
So
or
it's like,
maybe they were deliberately submitting in the harder problem to hoodwink the other
mm,
team into thinking they were solving that.
yeah.
I have seen
And
that
like
strategy.
what
If they
I
are
have
confident,
liked,
they will not solve that problem.
yeah, like what I have liked about Malana team from IIT Patna is like they a lot of times do not follow like what the scoreboard shows to them. So in the online round, they solved the sixth problem, like which was solved by only two teams and was the hardest problem of the set. And this strategy backfired in the Chennai regional where they participate in the Kanpur regional where they participated, and they ended up outside top 20. And if we look at the scoreboard today, like so far they are the only team to get an AC on Super Fario. And like I'm pretty sure like when the teams look at the expected solution of Super Fario, like they would be surprised like how small code and how easy it is. So
Yeah, I,
yeah,
I
mm,
think Malala is following the right strategy in general,
yeah, like
especially long term and for world finals. Like they need to trust
yeah,
what their strong area is.
yeah, and like Malana team had already qualified for the Egypt World Finals by getting a better rank in one of the previous two Asia West finals contest. And like the team had Awekane, who has also represented India for IOA, and I think Awekane has won a medal in the IOA, and he's grandmaster right now. And like even in the last year Amritapuri regionals, Malana team did ended up going out of the order and solved one of the hard problems.
It's also fun
So
to see as setters.
yeah, and looks like Fight from IIT Hyderabad has solved five problems now. The very recent AC they have got is can we qualify for the semifinals? So like probably I think it's the time to discuss the solution for can we qualify for the semifinals. Like 27 teams have solved so far. And the main critical idea for this problem is if the number of remaining matches are more than 20, then you can always assume that Team India can win all the remaining matches and end up in top four. And if there are less than 20 matches remaining, you can write a recursive approach to try all the possibilities of all the 20 matches in 2 to the power 20 order complexity. And see, at last, see, look at the number of wins of each team and see who wins over there. So like and like our initial problem was a bit difficult one, like where we asked like name all the teams that could qualify for the semi-final. But then we decided to reduce the difficulty of problem to just ask for the team India because it doesn't really much changes the expected solution, just that some more micro optimizations might required on that problem. And like looks like a lot of team on rank 4 over here. Like with four problems, like 24 teams have solved at least four problems so far. And looking at like faceless men are at rank 36 right now with three problems solved so far. Like they were the winners of the online round and the Kanpur regionals. So like pretty much that's the status on the scoreboard. And like YouTube stream does shows like the recent changes. And looking at like what teams are trying over here. Like Flashpoint from IIT Kharagpur is trying to solve cheap construction. Skill issue is trying to get a first issue on based on what, and Malana team is right now trying cheap construction. And Malana team have got five Ws. Like I would be more interested in checking the solution for skill issue who are trying to solve get a first issue on based on what.
I wonder why more teams are not trying, or are they trying semifinals, or they are trying. That's where all the teams are trying to solve. Yeah. For that, I think like you need to really be sure about all the edge cases, and if it fails, it really tests your ability to come up with counter cases.
Yeah, I do see a lot of teams trying the problem. There are plenty of people submitting the samples or getting wrong answers. So, yeah, I think it can be a tricky problem to debug.
I think in these types of problem, it's important to get like the invariant right, like uh, what's the optimal way for the rest of the team matches to go,
Mhm.
and what should be that invariant.
Looking at the solution of team skill issue, it looks like they are assuming like they can find the answer with just three number always. But I don't think that's the correct answer for this problem, because let's look at the example like where let's say the smallest number is 15 times 5 or something like that. Then I believe that will definitely require 5 moves. And like the intended solution is some dynamic programming over there where the state is given and n and k numbers so far. You have to answer a true or false whether it can be done. With that said, like it looks like I just end up speaking something on the solution without even discussing the problem statement to begin with. So probably let's just read it once.
I think anyone who has followed sports would have tried to do this calculation at least once and given up.
You were talking about the semi-final one, right?
Yeah, sorry, I was still looking at that.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Semi-final one. So whenever like last three, like irrespective of what type of sport it is or what type of tournament it is, when the tournament reaches the last leg, like everyone starts up calculating, can their favorite team qualify over their team, or like can their arch enemy not qualify over there?
Yeah. Sorry, which one were you talking about?
I was talking about based on what, like the first problem which like skill issue team is trying.
Aryan, that was your idea too, right? I think initially that you can just use three numbers or whatever.
Yeah, like that was my idea too.
Mm.
But what I was told was that doesn't work.
So this is the second consecutive contest with some problem involving bases, I guess. So that's the first. I've never experienced that in our ICPC contest before. That were multiple problems uh, related to representing numbers in some base or whatever.
So he's
One
asking us to check NIC's literature team once. Like we can
and
go ahead and take a look at like where is the scoreboard and like are they close to getting some aces.
yeah, there's Spy Kids from NIT Silchar at rank 9, and it looks like they're trying cheap construction. They have 1 WA on cheap construction right now.
I will go ahead and check their code once, like what they are doing.
So I think it's important which team gets to the fifth problem now from the ones rank 4 and beyond, because some of these might qualify for Asia West finals, I guess. So yeah, top three are at 5 problems. I think they'll sort of comfortably go through, but it might be important for the teams below to quickly figure out either cheap construction or some other problem. I'm not sure. Yeah, can we still qualify for semifinals?
Okay, looks like Faceless Man just got an AC on cheap construction. Like when I was looking at the submission, like second last submission is from them. After 2 WA penalties on it. And like also looking at Eurosa Forever, the winner of Chennai Regional, they have also solved only 4 problems so far.
Mhm. Aryan, do you also think that Super Fario might be more approachable for some of the teams compared to, let's say, the harder problems? Although it has only one solve compared to, let's say, cheap construction.
Like, while trying to solve it, what I found was like the concerns do not allow simple brute force, and you have to come up with some greedy ideas for it.
Mm.
So, like, you will have to also check the scoring function and realize that once you reduce the maximum, like, you should try to be as close as possible for the maximum number.
Mm.
Like, the code is super short for it,
Mm.
but like, it can turn out to be a bit non-trivial if someone does not spend it. But I really feel like for the folks who are really good at solving math problem or ad hoc problem,
Mm.
if they spend some time on it, they would be able to come up with some ideas. And okay, I checked the code for NIT's lecture
Mm.
on the chief construction. Like, so I don't think I have read the problem statement yet. So I will first go and read the problem statement.
For Super Faria, what do you like? If you hadn't looked at any of the problem earlier, how would you approach it? Like, would you solve it for one dimension first and try to generalize it for two dimension, or
Yeah, that will can also work. Like you look at how do you greedily find it for one dimension, and then the same idea can be generalized for 2 dimension. So like cheap construction, like The problem statement says Blackwater Industries plans on building a space colony in the forest moon of Alpha Centauri A called Pandora and has hired you for help. The colony will consist of end domes, each with a positive height. The end domes will be in a single sequence and we label the positions 1 to n from left to right. Using the latest advantages in the wormhole technology, it is possible to insert a new dome between any two existing domes, even if there isn't any space available between them. Of course, it is also possible to insert a new dome before the first dome or after the last dome. The space colony will be built in n steps starting from an empty sequence. The ith sequence is described by two integers pi and hi. It means that insert a new dome of height hi so that newly inserted dome lands at position pi after insertion. Like to give you a formal problem statement, it says you starts with an empty array and you keep inserting n number of elements in that array. And at every point of time, you are given an index I where you should insert the new element over there. More formally, right before the ith step, there will be I minus 1 domes in a sequence, and the ith operation pi hi must satisfy these conditions, and some conditions are given on it. Now, what is given in the problem is we are given a sequence of n steps. And like we define a new sequence S as pi hi p2 h2 pn up to pn h1. Like all the like for each operation, like the index first and the element we insert there, and we can write it in a sequence to create an array of 2n numbers. And in the problem statement, we are given such operations. So what we have to do is we have to first find the sequence which corresponds to those operations. And now we have to try to find the lexicographically minimum sequence which can also construct the same array. And looking at the code for NIT Slicher, like what they are doing is like the first observation here is like for the very first element, the first number you insert would be at index 1, right? Because the sequence is empty initially. So like the number you should insert would be the smallest number in the complete sequence because any other number insertion would make the second number as largest number and you can have lexicographically smaller other sequence. So like this gives us an idea like if we are trying to form some array, we should look out for minimum. And then what NIT Slicher is doing is they are first finding the position of all the places where smallest number exists. They are repeatedly constructing it and then they are looking at second smallest. But that's not what you should do. Like the observation is correct. Like you should for smallest number should be the first element to be inserted. But it's not necessary that the second smallest number should be inserted in the second operation. Like an example for this is 3 1 2 is the final sequence. Like first insertion is 1 comma 1 and the second insertion should be 1 comma 3. No, their code would work for this one. Like probably 3 1 1 or probably I will have to look at it, but yeah, like that looks incorrect to me. Like probably if I try to look at like and then they were trying to solve like after inserting all the smallest element, they were splitting like the array can be split into multiple continuous subarrays and they were doing a recursive function to solve it. Like example, let me look at 3 1 and 2. So you first insert 1 at 1 1 operation, then you can also insert 3 with operation 1 and 3. And only 1 second. Like you should go for left and you should completely the main idea is you should completely you find the largest index where the smallest element exists. Now the array can be divided into two parts and you should completely fill the left sub array and then you should try to recursively solve it for the right array is the approach. So like if the NIT Slicher team realizes it, like they can reuse a lot of their existing code to just get an AC on it. Like by changing 3 to 4 lines in their code, they would be able to get an AC, but it would be critical that they realize this obsession. And someone is asking how many teams will get selected from regionals. I think the count yesterday RCD Mysore announced was around 15 teams would be selected for Asia West from Amritapuri regions. And with this, like I think only 2 hours are left for the contest. And Dumbar Muffin from IIT Kharagpur has solved 6 problems now. The new problem they have solved is super failure. And now it would be critical for them to figure out which new problem they want to give a shot at. Like they have 2 hours and they have solved all the problems which have at least one AC. And Leaf Papad from IIT Bombay has solved 5 problems and are at rank 2. Fight from Triple
Which
IT.
among A, F, and G do you think they should solve? Sorry, which among A, F, and G do you think they should solve next?
So like which among okay. So like if you
I
ask me
think they would consider three of those.
like Symphony in C++ major is solvable, and like I think like from these 6 problems, like a better strategy for them would be to avoid expected diameter, pale world, and like critical construction one. Let me just confirm it.
By the way,
Yes,
gender discipline has solved their sixth problem.
yeah, like that's what I was telling recently.
Hmm.
So like looking at the like Symphony in C++ major, Christmas Condorum, and like based on what? So like the code for based on what is really small. So if someone solves it on paper or like is really good at math or something, like that's the one they can target for next. And after that, Symphony in C++ major is a kind of standard, and like we have allowed a lot of suboptimal solutions to pass on this one, but that will take some amount of time to code. So like what I expect is like it may happen that a lot of team decide to throw away all the other problems they are trying and just code this one out. And then we have like Christmas coloring Kondaram one. Like it is a data structure problem where you might need some amount of implementation. Like HLD, you can definitely base it with HLD, but if you and that also gets an AC with the time limit, generous time limit we have. But if you try to simplify it a lot further, then it can be simplified a lot using some
Oh,
Euler.
I remember that discussion.
Mhm. So yeah, these are
Is
the
it the one where Kevin kept optimizing it further and further?
no, like when was the discussion? Like if you can like there were 2 problems. Like I think one was in Chennai or
Okay. Okay. I will avoid
like
discussing further in case it's used in Asia West.
okay. So like I would say like based on what is something like the team like from IIT Kharagpur, Dharmafin should try next. And after that, they can give a shot at Symphony in C++ major or like Christmas construction. And if I have to choose one of them in that as well, then I would suggest Symphony in C++ major because that doesn't need a lot of thinking, but a non amount of code would be required to solve this.
Yeah, I think it's important for them to not go back to G just because they tried it.
Mhm.
But you said
Like
that it's
G,
wrong,
yeah,
wrong solution.
like
Yeah, okay.
even then, like in the G, like there are only 3 inputs in each test case, while their code runs a for loop and t number of test cases. So
We
it
should
looks more
definitely
like
ask
they.
them like if they try to uh,
Mhm.
mislead the other team. Like they
Right.
judged that it would be the hardest one and they just submitted wrongly in that.
Right. So like the problem I have over here is like there are a few people discussing one thing or the other at the back. So that ends up with some background noises.
So if there are no topics, I can think of one. I think Aryan would be familiar with that, having done that recently, and Vaibhav is a like subject matter expert on that. How do you think like we should handle AI in competitive programming, like as organizers and setters? I think we saw in some recent contests where we had to disqualify or try to figure out whether they cheated or not using AI or sharing code. And also in general, how do you think it changes practicing for participating in competitive coding?
Like what I have realized is like AI makes it really difficult to figure out teams, like whether they have really used ChatGPT or they have just copied someone else's code over there. Like before AI, it was relatively easier to figure out the distinguish between those two things. And like probably Weber can comment more like how advanced their AI has been, like is working in DeepMind.
Yeah, I feel that at least for the easy problems where we usually see, let's say, plagiarism or stuff like that, um, maybe over time it will. I think it will only become harder. Although it's an ongoing race between both sides, right? There'll be people who will try to sort of obfuscate their solution, while on the other side, people trying to catch plagiarism will try to uh, catch up. But I think after a point, it will only become exponentially hard. So yeah, I don't think it's very hard. I mean, it's very easy to continue doing that over time. So maybe we should just get rid of the easier problems after a while. Like let's say if GPT 3.5 or Gemini Pro can solve it, then just don't put the problem in the contest maybe.
Yeah, but we need easy problems to have something for people to try out, right? Who have just started competitive programming. Like that was one of the reasons why we have Twinkle Twinkle Little Star in this contest.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I think it's more of a philosophical question. Like,
And it's a bit technical too. Like, are there some classes of problems that AI would find it difficult to solve or help with that humans would still find uh, easy enough?
Like, but if you
And how
look
would
at
that look
chess,
like?
right? If you look at chess, right, the problem to determine whether someone has used AI or not is pretty much a solved problem. Because like AI is far more advanced. Like you can be pretty sure like they will beat it with 99.999% accuracy of the world finalist as well. So if someone has non-trivial amount of accuracy in playing the moves, then their cheat algorithm pretty much flags them. And because like their algorithm also looks at like what is the best move recommended by chess engine over a particular situation on the board, and what was the second best move, and there they check if the user has played the best move, second best move, or like how many times he played the best move, how many times he played the second best move. And then there is a factor involved, like they know like realistically how many times a particular person of a particular rating can play the best move.
Yeah. But I wonder, like, are there such problems which are easy for humans, beginner level human coders to solve, but tougher for AI? Like, I can't really think of any.
Like when I'm looking at it, like the only way we can stop AI to solve that problem is make understanding the problem statement really hard for the computer compared to a human. Like for example, if we look at the April Fool's contest, which happens on 1st of April on Port Forces every year, right? I don't think ChatGPT would be able to solve any of the problems. While if we look at humans, like how do you ask ChatGPT to solve a problem which only has samples and a problem name, nothing in the problem description?
actually, like up till ChatGPT came out, this field only had research that relied on examples. So people used to call it programming by examples or program synthesis by examples. And
Okay.
people started off with just integer lists or integer boolean and string lists and so on, like problems involving only these simple data types. But that's
Okay.
not, it's only after chat gpt that you have natural language in the picture at all.
Got it. So it's more like they were trying. If I have to speak in layman terms, they were trying some polynomial fitting using interpolation kind of thing. Although I believe interpolation would not be the correct word.
Mhm.
Like neural networks was one of the word I heard when I was trying ML 101 course.
Mhm. Yeah, I think you can say that there's more like neurosymbolic work around this. So you will have some neural network trying to do some fitting, of course. But apart from that, there will also be some search algorithm that will try to reduce the space of possible solutions that you can find. I think that used to be the main area of research and for a very long time, until let's say uh, recent deep neural nets came into picture. So I think that still continues to be a popular area of research. For example, recently you might have heard of the Q star hype um, from other companies. So I feel search is definitely an unsolved problem for code, because let's say you look at chess or Go or even Dota for that matter. You can always represent the game state in some objective way based on some points and whatnot. But for programs, I think it's a little harder, or even for math. Although, I mean, you have alpha geometry that came out recently. But apart from that, I think games like these have a more deterministic state that you can reason about. For math or code, I think it's harder. And I feel math and code are roughly in the same ballpark, more or less. Like all of the proof related stuff that you might have heard of. Like I think there's a competition as well to get an IMO gold or whatever. I think those are similar. They all have similar problems. It's hard to give some value to a state when you're trying to explore the search space. So those are the problems I think people are trying to solve right now.
So like I think probably we can invite some other setters. Like we just have 40 more minutes. Okay, 40 more minutes before the contest freezes. So I will ask around if some people want to join us on the stream.
I think even Jatin will join us in some time. He is traveling to California, I think, for some um, theoretical CS conference apparently. So it would be good to have him on the stream. Balaji, one question for you. So, do you plan to organize any camps with Amritapuri, like the old days, for example? Like maybe current ICPC world finalists from India could coach newer folks who are in their first or second year and so on.
Yeah, I think like that's up to Amritapuri, but I have been pitching that idea to them. And I think that's something that I have found really helpful, and I think we should continue that. Past world finalists teaching like the future or upcoming competitive coders, like that sets the kind of culture like of helping within the community, and we also need to ask them to set problems and test it, which some are doing, which is great. We just need to set that loop,
Mm.
and that would be really great. Like really great to have. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, and I think it was also good to have competitions like IPC. Like I remember there was a season where uh, people sort of created small groups, and the group came up with a contest of their own. I think those initiatives were pretty nice back in the day. I think it would be very cool to restart those kind of things. As as world finals wrap up, sorry, as regionals wrap up, I think a lot of participants are very active, so they might have the time to maybe prepare some problems.
Yeah, definitely. I recall that like it having like a community helping each other, and I think everybody's average rating would have improved by that, and also everybody would have had fun. So
Mhm.
yeah, then all the successful countries that you see at both like Asia West levels, like Bangladesh, or at the World Finals levels, like China, USA, Russia, they all have this kind of community within them, like helping out each other and setting up that feedback kind of loop where everybody helps out for the future. And
Mhm.
India has it too, but not at the level of others, which is where it would be good to expand.
Yeah, that makes sense. So at some point when we were sort of trying to understand how we can bring more of this to schools, we looked at the programs in Russia, for example, and they have a lot more intense gyms from a very young age, even for maths, for that matter. So I think, yeah, more ground level changes will be required over time.
Yeah, I think it will happen now. It's already happening. Like in
Mm.
India, I think we are starting to teach everybody coding at younger and younger age. Uh, yeah, though not for reasons that I would like. It's more about job, but yeah, it's also good to have that computational kind of thinking in general, especially as everything is digital now. Having that kind of logical ability and everything is good.
Yeah, that's true. Um, cool. Yeah, and I think of late India has also started doing pretty well at IOI. I think over time, I don't think a lot of people even knew about IOI 10, maybe 15 years back, for example. But now I think at least in major metro cities in India, a lot of kids already know about IOI in school. So that is helpful, I think. Um, but yeah, I guess there's still scope. I think some previous initiatives over the last 5 6 years helped. Um, but yeah, it would be good to further scale things out.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Yeah, I think we don't have any other changes in the leaderboard for the
We
last few
have
minutes.
one more team solving five just now.
Okay.
I think debugging Susano from IIT Guwahati has solved. Which one have they solved? They actually have two submissions in 1 minute, so they came from three to five. Wow.
Yeah,
See
that's.
that submission timing, like B is at 3:20 and C is at 3:21.
Mhm. Yeah, I just
So
noticed that.
it's, yeah, probably someone was debugging on paper and figured it out. So that's always fun to do, like having back to back in 1 minute.
Mhm.
Like you are at three problems and now you're in top five suddenly.
Yeah. And that's pretty rare. I mean, I don't think we see that a
Yeah,
lot.
yeah.
I remember, I think it was Tourist's second world final, and RNG 58 was competing. So I think those are the top two candidates for the world finals. And Tourist team was lagging behind by a few problems for some time. But
Few problems.
yeah, exactly. And within 30 minutes, uh, I think they got like three or four correct. So that totally changed
So
the
I
scenario.
wonder if Tourist was doing something like he used to talk about that, like even when in where contest had such kind of penalty, like where you add up the time, he sometimes used to have solved the problems and then submit it later just to
Mhm.
uh, like not not show
Mhm.
what problems he has solved or anything.
Yeah, I
I
remember.
wonder if they did something like that. I wouldn't put it past them, especially as in the previous one they would have solved all. So
Yeah, I vaguely remember, but I don't know which contest it was exactly. Was it Code Jam or something?
yeah, he did that in thing. Uh, he said he did that in lot of contests. I remember Code Force's blog on that. Like, he used to solve it and keep it back, uh, just to not let others know like which problems should solve next.
Hmm.
Like, especially if there are like options between 2 or 3 hard problems, like in core jam finals, like in the final level,
Hmm.
then it might help to not show which is the second most difficult problem or something like that, so that others would have that they have to make that decision.
Yeah, I think I found the blog that he wrote uh, about his strategy. So I just pasted it in YouTube chat, I think.
Yeah, I think in AdCoder it might make sense because of the penalty rules.
Hmm.
But it only works like if you are 100% sure your submission will pass.
Yeah. Um,
I used to remember doing that in the Codes of Long contest where like while I would solve everything, but I would not solve the easiest problem and keep it back till the last hour. But I think everybody knew, so it wasn't really useful. So I stopped.
hmm.
A lot of people used to do that, but you can just see the scoreboard and know uh, which problems are solved. So it didn't really help. Only thing you could do there was to have better solution in challenge problems and submit it at last minute. If you can locally simulate it, which was
Yeah,
sometimes the case.
yeah, that's true. I think maybe 2012, 2013, around that time, there were a few people who were exceptionally good at challenge problems, I guess, apart from the top
Yeah.
competitors. Do you have any peers right now at your company who have been ICPC World finalists?
Yeah, definitely. I think there's also Meta Hacker Cup. So there are like people within trying to set and test the problems. And I don't recall the name, but last year's World Final commentator, like part of the commentary team, he's the one who also holds the like Meta Hacker Cup. The what's it? Meta. I remember plenty being at Google too. So it's really sad. Google stopped the code jam thing.
Yeah, yeah. Hopefully that will change.
I hope Meta doesn't stop. Hacker Cup.
Yeah. Well, thankfully, there is still code drills. So in any case, you can always host contests here. So
Yeah. I like these statements this time. Like quite a lot of them are funny, and everything has like, clear diagrams and everything.
yeah, I think Kevin has really polished the statements a lot. A lot of it has been a one man show in terms of not just the problem setting part. Sure, I mean he drives all of that, but I mean this also takes some effort where you ensure that problems are understandable and also fun for people to read. So
Yeah, he goes through it with like a fine comb, seeing
mhm.
everything is there or not.
Yeah,
If
like
Kevin is
so.
like part of the setting team, we are all like chill.
Yeah, like that's what have happened. And like generally I find it really hard to write problem statements. Like I find it easy to code rather than write the statement. Last year for one of my problem, I just took two guys, sat them on a chair and like asked them to fix it up for me. And
Hmm.
this time what I literally did was I just wrote the formal problem statement and left it on Kevin to take whatever story he wants to write and do the whatever magic he does. So
Yeah.
like
I would like to see AI do the job Kevin does.
so like the update on the scoreboard is
That's
like
not possible.
IIT Kharagpur has solved 6 problems and like there are 5 more teams with 5 ACs so far. Like Leaf Papad, Skill Issue, Fight, Debugging from IIT Guwahati.
Yeah,
And like we
debugging
have
Susanna
learned,
got 2 in 1 minute and jumped from three problems to five problems within 1 minute.
okay. Oh yeah, good one.
Malana team has 10 WAs on cheap construction.
Like now I am interested in looking at their code for now. So I will just go ahead and see what they are doing.
Sure.
Yeah, I think 10 is a bit too much. Like they might be better off switching for now.
Yeah, I think they must have gotten tilted because they might be debugging it. So
Yeah, it's the sunken cost fallacy.
yeah, that's true. But then what other problem would they solve anyway? They also have 3 WAs on can we still qualify? So yeah, I guess that can be very frustrating because you are at 4 problems and
Yeah,
2 problems seem very close. So
but if they can pull off and solve both in 1 minute, like the other team did,
yeah. Yeah, that's true.
I think penalty wise, the team at third, they have no penalty in the solve.
Yeah.
What do you think of the penalty points? Like, do you think 20 minutes is too much, too less?
No, I
As participant, I always thought it was too much.
Yeah, like for ICPC 20 is fine. But like for the contest, like Code Forces, like they have reduced it to 10 minutes because they found like they only have 5 problems, and most of the time it's the speed. And the contest is just 2 hours, so like 20 minutes is just 1/6. But if you look at 3 hour contest, 20 minutes is 1/15 of the time. And then we also have lead code where like the person at the top solves the problem in 10 minutes, and there are only 4 problems. So lead code used to initially have 10 minutes penalty, then they moved it down to 5. And even after that, if the people at the top who sometimes end up getting multiple ACs and gets a worse rank, they have started asking like just make it 1 minute. And like the counter the counter example, people say skill issue, better prove your solution before making any submission.
Yeah,
So I was looking
I
at
think it's.
Malana's submission.
Are they on track?
What I see is like they are repeating the same mistake they did in the previous regionals. Like in like, if I remember, like their code in the Kanpur regionals for mod messages was correct, but they wrote a lot of code instead of simplifying the problem statement and coming up with some better implementations. So they ended up doing an online solution for it with an extra log and complexity, and that's what made them out of top 20. And even in this problem, what I see is like they are using segment tree and trying out different ideas on it, some gradients, something like that. And like that does not looks to me on the track part. So and like what I have seen is generally they have bigger code than what we expect.
Yeah.
So but 1 second. If I look at the number of test cases they have passed, like there are 16 test cases in this problem. They are able to get a correct answer on 14 test cases, runtime error on 15th one, and 16 test cases skipped. So I think that's what prompting them. Like I haven't really tried proving if their algorithm is correct or not. What I saw was like it's different from what we were expecting. Like the greedy and whatever they are doing might be correct, but they are using segment tree, lazy segment tree, and a lot of stuff there. But
Yeah.
the expected solution only requires you to have one range minimum query, which you can either do using segment tree or some range minimum query data set. So whatever you want, you definitely don't need a lazy segment tree, and then just a recursive function to solve it, and probably a Fenwick tree to construct the original sequence again. And like the reason for 10 WS is like they only need 2 more test cases. Although they do not, I don't think they can look at the total number of test cases, but they do see like how many tests their code has passed.
Yeah.
And like because it's a runtime error instead of a WA, that prompts them to look out for some out of the bound or any such error, like trivial error where they are missing something there.
Yeah.
So like it might happen that they are able to find like why it's a runtime error, like WA even like prompts seem to try something else, but runtime error prompts like they are missing something really trivial over there.
I recall someone from the setting team asking, I think their runtime error is segmentation fault. So
Okay.
yeah, it's probably due to some undefined behavior somewhere. All right, I think I will leave the stream now. Thanks. Thanks, Arun. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Balaji, for joining us.
Super Fario has 3 ACs now, by the way.
From IIT Roorkee as well, Super Fario.
Okay.
Like what I will say about Super Fario is like if you spend some time on the paper, like the code is really short. Like you can write the code in 5 minutes. And even ones who have not solved it once, they will look at the expected solution of the problem. Then they would be scratching their heads like why did they went with the scoreboard number of aces instead of trying it.
Do you also need to print the moves in Super
No.
Fario? Just the number.
You have to, I think just the number is required. And we have only 20 minutes until the freeze.
So, okay.
Yeah, like they have to just print the minimum Manhattan distance, not the number of moves. Like
Okay.
minimum distance from the point. No need of printing the move. Although reconstructing the move is not a hard problem if you know what grid you are trying to do.
I think MPB mentioned on the chat that you could just represent X and Y in base K and
Yeah,
take the
like
map
that's the
and
first
put
step.
the number of moves.
I would say instead of base k, you might want to represent it in minus k base or something like that. Because base k will only give all the points as positive, and you might want it negative. Like the problem is writing in. Probably I will ask MPB to just code it once and see
Yeah.
what exactly was the solution.
I
Like if we look at it in the base case, right? And I feel like MPB solution might be correct because when you write the number in base K, all you know is you can add +1 or -1 at a particular position and +1 -1 at a position. And
yeah.
this gives you some n log square or log cube solution. I think one of the tester had one log cube solution, which he was able to which was taking around 10 seconds, and with just one observation, he was able to reduce it to n log square. And the expected solution is just one log function only.
Also extending Balaji's idea, let's say you try to do this for 1D. For 2D, I guess you can find some, um, like you can do a nested binary search maybe in log square to
Yeah, like
approximate.
if we, right, so like if I have to solve it for 1D array, right? So I know that each position is either +1 or -1. So I can pick the highest bit that must be positive.
Mhm.
Then I would try to pick, like I will iterate from the highest bit to the lowest bit. Because if you reduce the difference at the highest bit, then like like first observation is like sum of up till first I powers of k is less than equal to k to the power I +1.
Sure.
Assuming the obvious case of k equal to 1, like probably for k equal to 2, difference is 1 and this difference keeps on increasing.
Mhm.
So you start from the highest bit and you try to minimize the error by now you are like, let's say you have fixed a prefix of base. Then you try +1 and -1 on the next bit and see which one minimizes the error. Pick it and try it on the next bits then. And
Nice.
even for the 2 dimension, the idea is same. Instead of trying 2 plus and -1, you try 0, 1, 0, -1, -1, 0, 1, 0, and pick which one minimizes the overall error. And use that as a number to go for the next.
Yeah, that's a
Like
very good idea.
some people what found it is like instead of going from 0 to x comma y, you start from x comma y and try to go to s closer 0.
Sure.
Looks like skill issue has got one more AC, and they are able to solve Christmas coloring one.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, like so
I
now
guess
we have 7 distinct solved problems in the contest.
is
And
Christmas coloring expected to be like medium hard in the contest?
no, like we did expected people to solve Christmas coloring
Okay.
one. And the idea with Christmas coloring was although we had some n log and log and per query type of solution, but we essentially did allow some log square solutions to pass or probably some square root solution to pass as well. So like the constraints were set in a way like just go there, implement something, and you will get an AC on it. We try to reduce the difficulty of this problem.
Was that due to memory related constraints or something like because um, or
No,
because you
like
can't log and log square easily?
no, like at least we can separate out n square root n solution. The constraints do allow square root n solution as well. And the reason we did it was mostly looking at the scoreboard of the previous listeners. So
Should we check what problem Dunder Mifflin are trying out? Because I don't think they've made a submission in a long time since expected diameter.
like even I won't say that Dunder Muffin has just solved the 7th problem.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they also got an AC on Christmas coloring one. So back to back 2 ACs on Christmas coloring one. And like I am hopeful that skill issue and under muffin can definitely solve based on what,
Hmm.
which will at least make my prediction to like the highest team will solve 8 problems.
Hmm.
And my other prediction was like around 9 to 10 distinct problems would be solved, but it doesn't looks like that would be the case now. So like
I'm also hoping that I think they'll solve based on what in the next maybe 45 minutes.
yeah, like skill issue is trying really hard on based on what, and I would go ahead and look at their solution, like what they are doing, and is it on the lines of expected solution. And also like I think based on what has a relatively tight time limit, so it might be the case that they have to do some constant factor optimization there.
Hmm. I think if one of these teams is also good at data structure like problems, then maybe Symfony in C++ major might be their next target as well.
Like I'm pretty sure like what symphony on C++ is, like teams look at it, they have an idea for it, just that they are passing it on, probably expecting a bit larger code, because matrix multiplication type of algorithm is only required for that problem.
Hmm.
And like I am pretty sure like they have seen a problems like this in the past. So it's the problem where like coding it will take larger time than, so like skill issue is getting runtime error instead of WA. So like there is a good chance that they may be able to solve it.
I see. Yeah, I'm trying to look at the solution, but I'm not
The thing
sure.
is like I haven't really coded it. Like the only part I coded for this one was to find the minimum number of moves. I did not try reconstructing it, so I did not made any submissions over here. So I'm not really sure like, yeah, like so like their solution is same. They are just assuming that with at max 3 numbers they would be able to form it.
Okay.
And I will go ahead and look at the test cases to satisfy myself that just 3 numbers won't be enough,
Hmm.
because
Yeah, I'll just try to see what the runtime error is.
yeah, I checked the test cases. Even the first number in the first test case requires 11 numbers to be printed. While skill issue team is just assuming that you can get away with only 3 numbers as a sum. And it's definitely, I don't think they are anywhere close to getting an AC on this one. Like they have made one more submission on it, but and let's look at like the other winners, like Faceless Man, the winner of online round, and Kanpur Regional has solved 5 problems so far. And pretty much only the problems with most of teams which have solved 5 problems so far. No, nothing unique over there. And let's look at Euros of Forever as well, like the winner of Chennai Regionals. They have solved only 4 problems so far, and now they are trying to solve like the cheap construction one. So looks like the winners, the teams which have already qualified for the other regionals are taking it easy today.
Hmm. Yeah, that's true. Do you
Looks like
know how
IIT
many?
Indore got 10 submissions on e-problem. Like if I am looking at this on the stream, like looks like a lot of team are just trying everything on cubic construction with lot of penalty.
Hmm. How many teams will qualify for the Asia West final? I guess 10 teams or more.
Yeah, I think yesterday the RCD announced like around 15 teams will qualify from Amritapuri regional.
Okay. Then I think time penalty will become an important factor now for the fifth problem. Um, I mean, teams should be calculative now, given that
Yeah,
there's
it looks like Leaf Papad have made a submission on problem K,
on K.
and I am definitely interested in looking at their solution because that's something one can get an AC in an hour, and for the teams at top, like it does not require anything clever.
Okay. Leaf Papad got MLE actually. Yeah, I think their idea seems roughly correct. It just matters what their transitions are. They are creating a set tree with some DP matrix.
Vector of vector, okay, matrix as they apply. Yes, like is there a way we can look at how much time memory limit their solution is taking, and like what is the memory limit?
Memory limit, I think it's just
Memory
running
limit
a,
is default 256.
yeah.
So, like, in that case, I am hopeful that Leaf Papad would get an AC on this problem because they should be able to optimize it. By the way, Webber, there are some of your friends in the chat as well. Good job, Webber, to learn more power to moderator like you. How many problems have you set and which ones? I think for this contest, like Webber's only problem was that the
Yeah.
problem on the Lego blocks. Like he did add some more problem ideas in the previous contest, and some of them were made difficult from what he initially proposed.
Yeah, I think I need to practice more to be uh, capable of creating more problems. So I think I'll start following Aryan's stream more diligently now onwards after trying some virtual contest.
Yeah,
Um,
and like, do you know someone with name Shanukya Patnaik? Like he says,
yeah,
great to see Balaji, Weber, and others inspiring to see their contribution and commitment since a long time of regionals. Reminded of old regional teams, kudos to contribution in making this happen. Like probably if you know him, then you can introduce him to the chat.
yeah. So Chanukya worked at CodeChef for a long time and was significant. He made significant contributions to make ICPC happen back in the day, and also Snackdown for that matter. We worked together for a little bit. I was just trying to contribute to CodeChef for schools for a while. Um, I'd just gotten out of college, and I thought it would make sense to sort of help create a curriculum for school children. So that's when we got to know each other a little bit. Um, yeah.
I think we are just 5 minutes away from the fridge, and once the scoreboard freezes, we will close the stream.
Sure. By the way, to check the memory consumed, you could use something like mtrace. I don't know if you've tried using it before, but
I haven't tried using it anytime.
Mhm.
So like they might have some good amount of struggle on this problem, but I'm
Mhm.
hopeful they will get an issue. While I
Yeah.
am not at all right now, I'm not hopeful for skill issue to get an AC on based on what,
Mhm.
and I feel Dunder Muffin can get an AC on.
Mhm.
And like I don't really see any submission for the other teams at the top. Like okay, one call out. Malana team just got an AC after 12 penalties on that one. Cheap construction.
Fine.
And
Yeah,
like
hope we can
the
get.
added advantage they have is they have solved Super Ferio.
Mhm.
So if they go with like, can we still qualify for semifinals, which was expected to be third easiest or fourth easiest problem of the contest?
Mhm.
And I'm pretty confident that they would be able to solve it.
Yeah.
And with that AC, they would jump to top 3 and 4 with 6 ACs at least.
Mhm.
And then if like to win the contest, they will have to solve two more problems because of the worst penalty they had. So it might not be possible for them to solve this one, win this contest, but with their performance, they would be able to qualify for the Asia West because like it based on their rank in Kanpur regionals. I don't think they would be able to qualify for Asia West.
Yeah, and I think it's great that they just need to focus on one problem now instead of trying other problems or whatever.
And one problem, and that too has been solved with around 50, 60 plus teams.
Yeah, exactly. So I think they should be able to get it. Um, because I
Yeah,
think
like
other
can we
problems
still
are going to
qualify has been solved by 52 teams, yes.
be 52.
So
Okay.
like okay, so with that Malana team would seal their slot for the Asia West finals.
Mhm.
And so if everything falls in place for them in Asia West, they would hopefully go for the finals.
Mhm.
So 3 more minutes left and then we will call it a day.
Mhm. Yeah, pretty interesting contest. I'm glad to see that a diverse set of problems was solved. Um, Especially Christmas coloring conundrum. I'm glad that we have two ACs before leaderboard has been frozen. I was hoping someone would also solve based on what, but yeah, I guess no one is close at the moment.
Like customer construction expected diameter were not
Mhm.
expected to be solved. And looks like with time in hand, no one will try Palworld.
Mhm.
And like Symphony in C++ measure and based on what can be the two problems that can be solved in freeze time. But because people are trying to go only solve the problems which have some non-zero ACs, so it might be the case that no one tries them.
Mhm.
And so like we might have 8 distinct problems solved. And just 1 more minute before the freeze time.
So, any final predictions, Aryan, um, about who will be rank one or rank two? Do you think skill issue can catch up?
No, I don't think skill issue can catch up. Like at least no, wait, if we look at the time, okay, yeah, skill issue won't be able to catch up on time penalty. And if
Mhm.
they want to win, they will have to solve two problems. And assuming the fact that they are nowhere close to based on what, I don't think skill issue can win this contest.
Mhm.
And like we don't know what IIT Roorkee is trying, but like IIT Roorkee has like Christmas coloring is the one they can give a shot at.
Mhm.
So to me, it pretty much looks like Dunder Muffin from IIT Kharagpur will win this contest.
Mhm.
And like there would be like I can see like teams which will get an AC at least six, and if teams focus like Christmas coloring one or like the Matrix one or some other problem, then the team which have five aces so far and no WAs on any other problems, the problem is we don't know what they are trying to solve and how close they are.
Yeah, that's true.
So
Cool. Yeah, I think